Diversity and inclusion is something which we take extremely seriously.
This leaflet is coming through your letterbox one day soon, or maybe you have already had your copy. Read it carefully. It tells you what the new National Health Service is and how you can use what it offers. Remember all the leaflet says. Get an application form from any post office, complete it, and send it to your doctor. If the doctor you have chosen can look after you under the new scheme which starts on July the 5th, he will sign the form and return it to you. Study the leaflet, then keep it by you. You'll need it for reference.
reflect on that now, it was so different. So things like the uniform was impeccable, and I remember the sister in the navy uniform with this starched cap and the frilly white cuffs. I remember the male nurses wearing the long white coats. It was a different world, really, a very nice world.
So general practice, I think, was changing. I became a principal in general practice in about '93. And it was when they were beginning to talk about business side of things, which was quite different, I guess, to what we'd experienced before. Starting to get payments to GPs if they started to take people off various medications. All of this was a new kind of world, and clearly it's developed hugely since that time.
I suppose the big change was the closing of St Edward's, and the move into the community. That was a biggie, and for some patients that was positive, and some not so positive, because the old asylum, if you like, had been their home. So that was a big change, and I joined in '91, and that I think it closed in 2000, or I can't remember, around about 2000. So I saw that progression really to more of care in the community, and patients being moved out, and also probably the move away from written notes to digital. That was a big thing.
In those days there was no technology whatsoever. You had a phone, you had memos, you had carbon paper copies. It took forever to sort of get to people that you needed to talk to, whereas now, people who again know me well, I'm a gadget girl, love technology, and that is advanced. So we've got now Microsoft Teams, we've got phones, we've got laptops, so the availability of our workspace, has significantly improved, and that helps client care as well.
Only just over halfway through my time here, and I've never felt better, and I'm really looking forward to the future and what that will bring, and I'd like to stay here longer. I love it that much.
I honestly don't think I would be here, and I don't just say it to sound cheesy or anything like that. I wouldn't be here without them. And I think the incredible thing about a service like the Parent and Baby Unit is that it's a whole team of people coming together and helping that mum and dad or partner as much as they possibly can. And to me, I was with them from 20 weeks pregnant until my baby was 1, so that's a long time, and a bit after. Actually, it never felt like I was a patient to them, never.
But the staff, just amazing. They deal with so many different types of illnesses, and there's so much going on. Right down from the domestic staff, doing the cleaning and things, and they're always extremely well mannered, and do you mind if, and knock on your door and things, and they're absolutely great. And then the care support workers, just ace. Love them to bits, the brill.
The patience with which people answered the phone to me more or less every day when I phoned up to find out how she was quite amazing.
So thank you. Thank you isn't big enough really to say thank you, but to me, I'll never forget. I will never ever forget this. I will be grateful for the rest of my life.
I think my ideal future NHS would be one that starts to care more about all the patients holistically. I think at the moment there are times when we're maybe not doing that as much as we could do, and as I say, that's probably the thing that matters most to me. Obviously with big changes in terms of looking at people's gender and stuff is obviously a massive thing at the moment, and how that will progress in the next 20 years. It's for all doctors to properly understand, and all healthcare staff to properly understand what's going on with transgender people and how we can help them. I think it's probably the thing that I would want changing most at the moment, and hopefully the changes that we'll make in the future.
So I think for me the future is good, and the future is looking very bright. I think there's a lot that's happening as well in terms of training of the future staff. I think we're talking about simulations now that has just come on, and I think that's a very good opportunity for students to learn and to adapt into the new ways of working, you know, making those mistakes in simulations, so when they come into practice they're ready to hit the ground running.
Currently a lot of things are good, but there's always room for improvement with everything. So I'd say things like, currently I'm doing mental health placements, so mental health for me is quite important, and I just feel like maybe a little bit more of people being considerate about mental health and having more knowledge about mental health and things like that while working in the hospital would be really amazing. If I was speaking to my 57-year-old self, I'd just really want to know that I'd finally managed to do what I wrote in my personal statement, applying to university, to medical school first. It was something along the lines of, there's so-and-so people, million worldwide, who are struggling without healthcare, even though it's such an important thing in all of our lives, like for living. It's such an important thing. So I'd want to know that I made an impact and made a difference in people's lives, like how I wanted to do right at the start, basically.
So I'm hopeful for a future that looks beyond just treating people when they're ill. I look towards a future that is able to prevent or identify early, you know, when things might go wrong. And I can see a great role still for clinicians to play in that space. And that's about innovation. And it could mean technology, it might mean a change of culture. And I would like us to involve the public, the people, more in their own health. Because I wonder whether the balance at this point in time is still tipped towards, you know, clinicians and the NHS wanting to take responsibility for people. I would like us to share that responsibility and ownership and engage people more in their own health, because that's the one best thing for me about the NHS.
integrated care system, together we're better. By working together in partnership with colleagues in the wider NHS, the care system, local government and the third sector, we achieve far more together than we can achieve alone. Here's just some examples of what's going on around our local system this week.
Hello, I'm Buki Adiemo and I'm the Chief Executive at North Staff's Combined Healthcare NHS Trust. And I'm delighted to be joined in this presentation by our Chair, David Rogers.
Hi there, my name is David Rogers and I'm the Chair at North Staffordshire Combined Healthcare NHS Trust. It's both my pleasure and my privilege to welcome you to our review of the year 2022-23 and to launch our new annual report and accounts and our quality account. It is my immense pleasure to confirm that it's been another truly outstanding year for Combined and for its people. Our new annual report provides the Trust's latest testament of the quite remarkable journey whose destination we used to call Towards Outstanding, and which for the past 4 years we have called Towards Being Outstanding in all we do and how we do it. It stands once again as both a public record and as a tribute to our staff and our partners, our volunteers, and all those who've displayed, sometimes in the most challenging of times, the very best that the NHS and our local communities can be.
It is now over 4 years since the Care Quality Commission awarded the Trust as an overall outstanding rating, the highest overall rating they can award. The news confirmed Combined Healthcare as one of only 2 specialist mental health trusts in England with an overall outstanding rating. At that time, we said we were far from complacent and our journey of improvement would continue. Our focus and aim was and remains to be outstanding in all we do and how we do it, including continuing to strengthen integration with our partners and engagement with staff, service users, their families and communities. We were proud at that time to be singled out by the Care Quality Commission as an example for others to learn from in how to sustain improvements in high quality care and performance after receiving an outstanding rating. The new annual report demonstrates how that relentless pursuit of continued, sustained improvement and innovation burns as brightly as ever at Combined.
This includes unveiling our new 5-year trust strategy, the future of North Staffordshire Combined Healthcare NHS Trust 2023 to 28. This was developed after many months of work and engagement with our staff, our service users, external stakeholders, to deliver a strategy which addresses the needs of our diverse local population, whilst remaining true to our trust values. Of course, the bedrock of our success is our commitment to delivering outstanding services that live up to our promise of being safe, personalised, accessible and recovery focused. We set out in detail how those services are organised, delivered and continue to achieve against that pledge.
We are particularly delighted and proud that in this latest year covered by this annual report, North Staffordshire Combined Healthcare won the prestigious award of NHS Trust of the Year at the National Health Service Journal Awards. This was the first time a mental health trust won this accolade. I have to say, it's not just a delight for Combined, it's an absolute joy for all mental health NHS trusts that a mental health trust is flying the flag for us all. Our delight was compounded by our memory clinic also being recognised as the Psychiatric Team of the Year, Older Age Adults at the Royal College of Psychiatrists Awards 2022. We place on the record our pride at delivering an unprecedented 24th consecutive year of achieving financial surplus, making us one of the strongest financial performers in our region. This performance enables us to provide examples of our determination to deliver historic capital investment in the medium-term future. This includes eradicating dormitory accommodation and shared bathroom facilities as part of a major capital upgrade at Harplands Hospital, as well as introducing new services such as our new dynamic support register for children and adults with a learning disability, and newly commissioned services such as our intensive support team linked to the Darwin Centre.
Partnerships are something we hold dear and something we do well. We are proud to have worked, for example, with local government colleagues, the voluntary sector, and organisations such as Port Vale Football Club and Stoke City Football Club to introduce community lounges and family hubs to support our local populations directly in the communities they call home. We've continued to develop and advance the NHS vision for integrated care and new models of delivery towards a strong Staffordshire and Stoke-on-Trent in their integrated care system. We were delighted that our finance team, alongside our system colleagues, received recognition for their excellence by winning the 2022 HFMA Finance Team of the Year Award. We're also proud to continue our nationally leading innovation in communications and engagement through the success of our very own digital television station, Combined Television CTV, from which we are presenting this review. As well as introducing a new digital production studio in our Lawton House headquarters, providing immersive training and state-of-the-art digital production facilities. 2022-23 was a year when we were delighted to welcome and showcase our outstanding services to a host of national leaders, including NHS England's Chief Executive, Amanda Pritchard, the Chief Executive of NHS Providers and the NHS Confederation, Sir Julian Hartley and Matthew Taylor, and the Shadow Secretary of State for Health and Social Care, Wes Streeting.
On a personal note, I was proud to be elected to the board of the NHS Confederation's Mental Health Network. One thing we keep constantly in mind is that strategies, plans and aims are nothing without brilliant, talented, determined and compassionate people to make them a reality. If there is one major theme that has run throughout everything we have done this year, it has been our unwavering commitment to protecting and promoting the health and well-being of everyone for whom we have responsibility, staff and service users. In this regard, one of the most welcome things we saw this year was the results of the NHS Staff Survey, which showed us yet again to have maintained our proud record of nationally leading results, including this year being the highest scoring trust in our cohort in 4 out of 7 of the NHS People Promise themes.
It really has been another remarkable year for North Staffordshire Combined Healthcare NHS Trust. If you wish to read our annual report or our annual quality account, which we are also publishing today, you can download them for free from our public website. In the meantime, we've also produced this short film to show you more.
My manager has always said, if you live with mental distress, you've got superpowers. And at first I didn't think that. I didn't think that what I had was a good thing, but I believe that it does give you superpowers now. Because, well, she messaged me one day and said there's a job and I'd like you to apply for it. And at the time I didn't feel like I was ready, I'm still in recovery. But I applied and I've never been so nervous in my entire life because it actually meant something to me. So I applied for the job and to my surprise I got the job. I didn't really know what I'd applied for at the time, but it was for a peer recovery coach. I didn't know what the job would entail, but I thought I'm just going to go for it. And since then, I've come on leaps and bounds with my mental health, but it's a job I enjoy that I know I can hold down.
We work out things together, just work it out, and it's just brilliant. I just really enjoy it. I think we both benefit from it. It's not like a one-way thing where I'm just helping one person. They help me as much as I help them. It's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
It's just like rewarding knowing that I'm in this role and helping other people as well, like some that are of like a similar age to me or a lot older than me. And it makes me realise that it doesn't matter what age you are, that anyone can suffer with mental health.
I've got a real purpose now, which is, you know, every day, week in, week out. I've got that community, that support. I've also got a status of a sort of regular job, which I feel really helps me, you know. And I feel much more confident because I'm interacting with people every day. And
there are like some days as well where like I have to pinch myself and I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting ready for work, kind of thing. And I have to remind myself that I'm doing it for a reason, because like me a couple of years ago never saw a purpose or like reached out for anything if I wanted to like have that. But now it's like I've got a purpose and I'm helping others as well as myself along the way. But I think it's just nice to know that you've made that difference, and I think all it takes is just that little conversation with that person. And when I have come across service users that are in distress, I always do reassure them before, like, you don't have to tell me what is going on, but I'm here for you.
So I think something we could maybe look into, which with the peer support role is already happening, would be to maybe liaise a bit more with the community and the services that are out there. Not just because I've got my own charity experience, but because I would have found really helpful to liaise with groups that were really aware of what the service does. And so maybe we could look at organising meetings and liaising more with the community, not necessarily with NHS-led support services, but community services. That would be really helpful. I know that the Trust are working hard already to liaise with charities, but there's definitely a lot more that can be done. And I think that's where the peer support workers, not just myself, I know that there's more vacancies out there, and actually they've hired a peer support worker recently for maternity. I think that's where the peer support can really come in.
Being a peer recovery coach I love it. I work with so many different service users. They've all got different needs, they're all in different stages of the recovery. I feel like I benefit them. I wish I had a recovery coach, because I think what you need when you're in that dark place is to feel validated, to not feel it's isolating, you're pushing people away, but to know you've got that person that you can turn to, that you can call if you need to, that if you're struggling with certain aspects of your life, they've got your back every single step, and I think it's invaluable. They just understand because they've been there, and it's really difficult because as much as your family and your friends might love you, it doesn't mean that they understand what you're going through. And when you are going through it, it's a very difficult thing to explain, but they don't need to explain. And I think that's what's nice, that you just get them.
I remember thinking, not just because I would have loved to get the job because I want to be a peer support worker, but in this trust, I wanted to be one. I am very, very, very proud to be part of it.
My name is Louise Spanner. I'm a independent nurse prescriber and I work in CAMS in South Stoke.
My name is Chloe Tomlins and I'm a community mental health nurse. I work at City CMHT based at the Eves, Mara House, and we work with over 65s in the community.
So I'm Vicky Washington. I'm a ward manager of Ward 2, which is an acute ward over at the Heartland Hospital.
The role of a professional nurse advocate is to impart restorative supervision and also to advocate for the nurse that you are supporting. It's another arm of supervision, so it's not clinical supervision, it's not management supervision, it's a restorative support and supervision within your role and where you're working. But it also, the other elements to the P&A is related to quality improvement and helping to support staff to feel engaged where they work.
A massive part of the role, as well as quality improvement, is looking at the retention of staff. So without the P&A role, people don't feel like they've got that outlet to talk about their problems, and then things just keep building up and they'll end up leaving the trust, which is of course not what we want, is it? If we can target these things early on and see, you know, where the problems are, then we can keep people in the trust and keep them going and advancing. So it's really important.
My passion lies within the workforce, I think. So I am very pro for staff wellbeing, and I think as nurses particularly as mental health nurses, we don't look after ourselves, we always prioritise other people. So I was one of the first cohorts that did the course so that I could then offer that sort of restorative and resilient supervision to my workforce as a manager, but then also wider across the workforce.
It's a different arm of supervision, it's a restorative supervision. It's more about yourself and more about your personal journey through nursing and how to support you through that, whether you are struggling at some time or whether you're wanting some more direction with your career. It's that sort of overarching umbrella of support really that's not linked to your clinical work as such. It's more about you as an individual.
Restorative supervision really is looking at your own well-being. Are you doing okay at home, social life? Is there anything we can change at work that would make us feel more comfy?
If you're considering becoming a P&A, I would definitely recommend to go for it and give it do the training. I did mine at Keele University. They were very supportive. It was a 3-month programme, started in September and finished in the new year. There is, lots of elements to it where you're learning all the time. I learned a huge amount, especially about the quality improvement, which has really sort of galvanised what I already knew, but put some structure behind it to help me be able to support staff to embed that P&A role within the trust.
We do a lot of growing our own workforce, from sort of healthcare support workers and growing people through the nurse training, doing nurse associates and as leaders in our areas, then being able to have that skill and have that to deliver to the staff is always going to be valuable for your own development and for the staff engagement and retention of staff, which is what we need.
We want as many people as possible really. I think the goal is to have a P&A in at least every team in the trust.
Diversity and inclusion is something which we take extremely seriously.
Hello and welcome to People with Paul. This is the first in what we hope to be many editions of me, Paul Draycott, our Chief People Officer at Combined, talking to our people. And we thought no better way of starting the process of People with Paul than talking about our new Combined People, our new people plan. It's all about our people. It's all about you. We went out over the course of the beginning of the year and spoke to well over 200 people and got your views on what was important to you, what we need to take forward. linking that with evidence, linking that with what we know works across organisations, we've come up with our new people plan, which we're delighted to, and we're going to talk a bit about the content of that with a couple of guests in a minute, which I'll introduce you to. And in the future, we'll want to talk to many of you about not just the people plan, but what it's like working in Combined. We'll come to that towards the end of the session. So, the first thing that I wanted to pick up really is our purpose. And in our people plan, we talk about our purpose, and this is the purpose of the organisation, to be outstanding in all that we do and how we do it. And I think that bit about how is incredibly important. You know, we can have all the best plans and deliver them in the way that we want to, but if we get the how wrong, you know, that's the bit that is not good for people. Doing this well, doing this with civility, doing this with kindness, respect, compassion is really important. So we want to get that right, and that's what the people plan intends to do. Our plan is about further developing a diverse, engaged workforce, outstanding in all that we do. So that's what we're going to try and achieve, and we've got a few areas that we're going to look at over the course of the next 20-30 minutes or so. What we're going to do in terms of measuring our success, these are things that we've put overall measures. These are things that we aspire to do over the next 5 years. Get our vacancy level down to below 5%. We're running a lot higher than that at the moment, more than twice that at the moment. But we think it's really important to make this a great place to work, so that we enable you, our staff now, to have a great time, but also it will encourage others to come and work and stay with us. Having a turnover less than 8%, another great measure of how well we're doing as an employer. But also having a workforce that is representative of communities at every level. We want to be representative of communities, we're not at the moment, and we want to do that at every level across our agenda for change and medical and dental banding. Really important that reflect and have those opportunities for everyone to develop and to grow and to fulfil their potential. Sickness absence rate of less than 4%. And that's about well-being. That's not about us implementing a policy, and I'm sure that may come up in conversation later on. But it's about having an approach that enables you to be the best and the most resilient and the healthiest you that you can possibly be within our workplace. So it's a good measure of how well we're doing in terms of health and well-being. And the last one, we want to retain our National Staff Survey results, being one of the top 3 trusts nationally across England in the NHS and beyond, and one of the best employers in the UK. And we want to do that. We want to try and start to measure against other organisations out there, not just in terms of the NHS, but what are the top employers doing across the country, and how can we bring those practices into Combined so that you can benefit and you can do the best that you can do then for patients, because you feel we're supporting you the best we possibly can. So what do we want to be? Those are the 5 areas that we've identified in the people plan based on your feedback: being inclusive and representative, having a great place to work, focusing on health and well-being, allowing people to achieve potential and aspirations, and having outstanding systems and processes that enable our people rather than get in the way of our people. So now I'm going to move to a conversation with a couple of special guests where we're going to unpack this in a bit more detail. Hi, and welcome back. And we've got our first discussion with People with Paul. And I'm delighted for our first discussion to be joined by Steve Jones, who is a healthcare support worker at Somers View, but also an incredibly active Unison member, been active for years in the Trust, and also has a national profile with Unison. I'm really delighted and proud of the profile that Steve has across the country in Unison and helping to influence policy and supporting our people. I'm also delighted to be joined by Kerry Smith, who is our Deputy Chief People Officer for the Trust, and both of these people have been centrally involved in developing the plan. So it would be good to have these people here for our first People with Paul to discuss our new people plan. So thank you both for joining. So we've got there the wheel. You've seen that before many times as we've developed the plan. And I suppose the first question I want to ask is, what do you think are going to be the key aspects of delivering this people plan across Combined over the next 5 years? We've got a lot to do. building on great work, but what do you think are the key things that we're going to be looking to do?
Well, I think the key aspect is getting people involved at all levels. You know, not keeping it in a boardroom away from people that it affects at the bottom. So I think it's getting buy-in from all staff, and I think that'll be the hard work. I think once we've done that, the plan will be seen as a fairly good and useful thing for us to be doing. So it's about getting the comms out and doing things like this and getting people to understand that that's the general direction that we want to go in, and they can influence that direction if they get involved.
No, that's a great point, Stephen. And I mean, we did. Over 200 people contributed, didn't they, to the development of it? But yeah, getting them involved, I think, is vital, as you say. This can't be sat on a desk or on a shelf somewhere. So, how do we think we can best do that? I mean, what are the sorts of things that we can do? What do we do now? What do we do well now that gets people involved, and how do we build on that? I guess is.
I mean, I think we've got the roadshow events that have been going on, and we have various other events, and we work in partnership with the trust as Unison. Recently, we've worked on the green agenda, and we also worked planting the Workers' Memorial tree on the Harpland site. So I think any aspect like that, we should be bringing the plan in. You know, we should perhaps be bringing it in on our recruitment stalls and discussing aspects of it on our recruitment stalls, and then feeding back, you know, the information. So I think it's a joint effort between everybody. Perhaps team leaders need to be looking at having it as an agenda item on team meetings, you know, or aspects of it on every team meeting. I think there's a few different ways of doing it.
Yeah, no, it's great. Kerry, you got to...
Yeah, I mean, I think through the engagement that we've undertaken to develop the people plan, there's hopefully something in here for everybody. I think, you know, we've all been on a significant journey over the last 3 years responding to COVID, and we know the pressures have been astronomical. Our staff survey results are really good. They provide some really great foundations, but we still know there's much work that we need to do. And I think whilst we've been in that reactive mode over the last 3 years, we can use some of that learning. You know, there's lots of feedback that we've been able to listen to staff in terms of what's going well, what's not going so well. And I think this plan provides us with an opportunity to touch all our people so that this is a great place, an outstanding place to work. You know, we know that health and well-being is a real challenge for our staff as life pressures land, financial austerity hits, etc. And that's provided a really challenging climate for our staff to work in. But what can we do locally to support our staff, whether it's with their own health and well-being? There's much more that we want to do to get upstream and be proactive and supporting staff to be as resilient as we can and supportive in our leadership style for staff that are having those difficulties. But that full life cycle really, so that when people join us, they get a great experience as part of their onboarding as we support them through their careers, you know, whether it's talent management, development, CPD, the experience they get when they come into work, that joy to work piece is real for everybody. And I think we're really honest in this organisation that we're not exactly where we want to be, you know, across all of these areas. And this plan, we very much hope, will help us to take there. So it is really meaningful for staff, Steve. So everybody can see something that's in it for them, and hopefully we'll be improving from where we are now, to, you know, over the next 5 years.
I think it has been, because I think with you've just touched on the sort of talent spotting and career development. I think it's taken a few years, but I feel now the trust has actually recognised what I was saying earlier on about people that don't actually want to progress. They just want to come to work and do a good job, and that's quite a hard thing, and it's a hard thing to deliver on. Letting somebody just do the job and focus on the job that they love doing, rather than going away and doing a course on this or doing a course on that. Now everybody's got the lifestyle or the time to do that because of the family commitments or whatever, you know. And it's a big commitment to take on further education, and it can be quite daunting. You know, eventually we're looking as a union, we'll be bringing it to the trust at some point, looking at a way of doing some educational stuff with the Workers' Education Association that will get people ready to start a degree course or further education, you know, preparing people with English and maths and computer skills and those sort of things. That's all coming through the Unison College, which is a new initiative, so hopefully we can get some work done for that. Then if people do want to move on, that's fine, but if people don't recognise in the good job that they do every day.
And I think, I mean, it's great points there, and I think you're right that bit, Steve, about recognising that there are a lot of people, having the conversations, as Kerry sort of alluded to, having the conversations about when we're pulling this together. The themes were really sort of quite consistent, but and career development was one of those themes for a number of people. But as you say, there's quite a few people that actually don't want that yet. It's not the right point in their career, not the point in their life where they want that, and that's all right too, isn't it? We need to just help them to make the best of their working life and how that fits with their home life, and to bring that joy. And we'll talk about joy at work in a minute or two. But this is about what works for everyone. It's about us making this the right environment for everyone, isn't it? And I love the idea. Working in partnership with Unison and the other trade unions, professional bodies is really important. That partnership working, bringing the best of that difference, and what you do really well as in Unison. You have some brilliant initiatives and some brilliant courses that we can really connect and help our people to grow and fulfil their aspirations. The first part of that, it talks about inclusivity and representativeness, and I know we were hoping to have the chairs of our staff network here. We're going to get them on the next, hopefully next 1 or 2 episodes. So there is plan to get Deb, Stephen and Sarah in to talk about the staff networks and how we can be more representative. But that inclusion, it means different things to different people. I guess we're worth just having a quick conversation around. We know the NHS has a real drive to be more inclusive, but we're still way off in many aspects. And the Trust has done some brilliant stuff, and you can see that in our staff survey, and we're becoming more representative. But we still need to do more. Are there any thoughts around how we might, what sort of steps we need to take? We've got some great stuff in the plan, and we've got some great aspirations, but just thinking about what some of the things that we might need to take next steps around inclusivity.
I think first off, it's attracting people to come and work at the Trust, isn't it? So I think perhaps some outreach stuff with schools might be the way to go, showing that it isn't just a career for certain people, and showing what careers and what different careers there are, because what job suits me may not suit you or Kerry, and may not suit somebody else. I think also what we miss, and I don't know how we engage, is the Roma community that we've got. There's also now we're a big area for thankfully housing refugees, which I'm very supportive of, and we should perhaps be looking, as the people there that could come into our workforce eventually, should we be making contacts, and bringing people in that way. And then obviously you've got the other equalities issues like the LGBT plus and stuff. It's about which the Trust do attend Pride and stuff, so we have got those links. It's just how we show them up and get through. But I think the key to it is, you've only got a look at, sorry about this, Kerry, but you've only got to look at our ages. We've got an ageing workforce. Yeah. We've certainly in nursing got a workforce where there's going to be a lot of people hitting retirement age at some point, and we've got to have new people to come in.
No, completely.
To do that
I'm
job.
glad you chose Kerry to not me.
Slightly.
I'm only about 10 years older than Kerry. But you're absolutely right, and I think working as a system as well. We are doing a lot more work in schools and trying to track. But that bit about how we are seen as a popular employer by our local communities, so that we've got people locally. That the whole thing about how we play our role as an NHS, as a big employer within our communities is vital, isn't it? I think that's absolutely right.
Example of that is, I'll give you, not last week, the week before, my son come and did his work experience with the comms team, and saw what it was like to work in an employer at 15 and in an organisation, and he's swaying some of his thoughts about what he wants to do, and is there more opportunities in the NHS than as well, or are they written off? Even though me and his mum work in the NHS, it doesn't, all he saw the NHS as nurses, because that's what the family of working that we do, and
and ignoring the fact that the comms team is recording this, was it a good experience for him? Did he enjoy it?
He had a really good week. He's been raving about it ever since. So
But it's supporting people with that opportunity, broader and wider, so it's not just our, staff, isn't it? That opportunity's there for everybody locally, and I think that's how we'll then get a much more representative workforce of our local population. We know we're not as representative as we need to be across our whole of population, and we've done lots of great work, like you've said, but we still know experiences from our staff with protected characteristics, whether that's disability, LGBT, or race, etc., is not where we want to be. There is much more that we still need to do, and I think it's about that responsibility and allyship for us all to be civil, to be respectful, to embody our values in everything that we do. Which will lead to the greatest gain, so that reputation we are seen as an employer. And I think we really sell ourselves short as an organisation. We're quite a small NHS trust by our local partners and other trust standards, but actually as an organisation locally, we are a large employer, and we need to really own some of that, and like you say, do that piece that we're going out to our colleges, because we know Stoke-on-Trent and North Staffordshire, the population doesn't tend to move on. So this is our future supply and talent for us, and we've got to support those individuals into the many different roles that we've got. And
I think the beauty of the plan is we've got space for that. And going back to Steve's point right at the beginning of the conversation, getting people from across our trust involved in this will be brilliant, because that's the sort of thing that will help this to energise. We want, like say, the allies as well as people from the different communities helping to push the fact that we are a good employer, help to challenge it when we get it wrong in terms of not being as inclusive as we want to be. And I think, again, picking up Steve's point about the Gypsy, Roma, travelling communities, again, it's an area that we can do better, both from a potential employment, but also certainly from a service delivery perspective. And I know we've got some brilliant people doing great stuff in the trust and across the NHS and that, but again, it's helping to build those approaches really well and break down some of the attitudes, because this is what we need to build our organisation on, isn't it? If we're not inclusive, people don't feel their difference is appreciated within our organisation, we're never going to have everyone being able to fulfil their potential, everyone being able to work at their best. This is the sort of foundation stone that we need to build our organisation on, and I think we've made some great strides. We're in a great place, but it's how we get even better, isn't it?
And it's that link back, isn't it, to our service and what we deliver. How can we deliver outstanding services if we don't understand the local population and what those needs are, absolutely. And they don't see such individuals similar to them in our in our profile, in our workforce.
proud of the leading role we play in our local integrated care system Together We're Better. By working together in partnership with colleagues in the wider NHS, the care system, local government and the third sector, we achieve far more together than we can achieve alone. Here's just some examples of what's going on around our local system this week.
Yeah. I mean, we've next one on the circle is a great place to work, and we've sort of touched on that. I mean, is there anything you want to add? Because we've also got health and wellbeing, which you picked up, Kerry. But I mean, just and what's the sort of things that make it combined already a great place to work, and and I suppose what sort of things we've got in the plan that we will help us, and we'll come to Joy at Work in a second. But I mean, what makes us a great place to work at the moment? I mean, I've got some ideas, but
I don't know, over 30 years, service, you must be doing something right, otherwise I wouldn't have stayed, and that's top and bottom of it. I think a lot's changed. I think the flexibility, the choices about working hours, I think it was a fantastic move that the Trust made, that they didn't push everybody to do long days or nobody to do long days. That was another discussion that took many years of discussion between us to come to a sensible sort of agreement on. The working from home seems to be at a sensible level. There's obviously jobs you can't work from home at, and people have to accept that. I think now there isn't the battle over holidays and shifts and stuff. I was quite anti the electronic rostering when it first come in. It seems to work. There is areas I could pick up on sometimes, because the system doesn't know personalities, and sometimes it isn't great to have two people like me on a shift when you've got a service user who needs a different sort of person to talk to or to help them, and you've got to accept that you can do what you can do, but if it's not right for that person, it's not right for that person. You need to do. But we shouldn't just nipping back really, we shouldn't let that be dictated by races or characteristics of the member of staff. That should be dealt with properly. But I think, so I think there's been a lot of things, I think staff feel more respected now because of the long service awards and Christmas and the gifts that have been given to people. The extra day, the welfare days, goes down brilliantly all across the Trust. Nobody's ever come and said, I prefer this or that. So I think we are hitting the mark. I think the biggest thing that staff complain about that isn't a personal thing, if you want to group it, is perhaps uniforms sometimes. In the summer it's really hot and sticky and you've got to wait to be given permission to wear something light, and perhaps we should be looking at a bit more, as long as it's suitable, what the right clothes for the right job is, and certainly some female staff could do with being able to have access to all the uniforms at certain times in their lives, and various things, so I think that would make staff a bit happier sometimes. But I think generally, most people, we don't get a lot of phone calls of people unless it's a personal problem,
And that's great, isn't it? And again, coming back to your original comment about what's going to make this work, it is about getting our people involved, isn't it? Because what makes it a great place to work for me, you, Kerry, won't necessarily be the same for everyone, working in our teams, and that we're all different. And so actually helping people to articulate what will be great for them, as we have done, and we've got some great plans in our combined people. But getting more of that engagement, telling us more and helping us to find ways that we make this the best possible experience for people to work in. I think again, we need to make sure we create those opportunities, don't we?
I think the work we've done around the staff survey, really deep diving into what that's telling us, it's not, sadly, 100% of our staff don't fill it in, and we'd really strongly encourage staff to do that. We know the myths and the hesitations why staff don't, but we really do use that as our evidence base for areas that we need to support and to look at what opportunities. But I think supporting areas to have that autonomy, to take responsibility where they can for improving these aspects. It doesn't all have to be sort of trust-wide driven, some of it is about that local culture and how it feels and how we work with each other at a local level, but there are things that we need to do together. We know from our staff survey results, violence and aggression from our service users is an absolute area that we need to focus on, and I think that's a real focus that we're going to be taking forward, isn't it, over the next couple of years, to really try and support staff so that they're not in those very challenged positions.
I mean, the staff networks are brilliant, because I worked on them with the trust at the start of it, and we've sort of pulled back as Unison because we think, you know, it's probably better that it is an organisational thing, you know, rather than just our members. It's not. It doesn't just affect our members, it affects people that aren't a member of a trade union or are members of other trade unions. So I think that is better done by the staff with our support. So and that was pretty much a model that was taken from Unison's, we call them self-organised groups. So I think, you know, we do a lot with that, and a lot of information comes back from that, and a lot of where we move forward will come from there. So I think that was one of the best things put in place was the Equalities Council and the Staff Networks.
Yeah, and I mean, you touched on another good point, Steve, which is around I think the learning from others, and you know, we have tried to learn and include it in the people plan. I mean, one of the areas, Kerry, you might want to sort of pick up on that. We know there's some brilliant evidence out there around civility and just restorative cultures, and which is, you know, learning from others, Merseycare and others across the NHS, and you know, that sort of that learning from Unison, or you know, from the wider NHS or from private sector, I think is brilliant. And you want to touch on just restorative? I think that would be quite a useful thing to just flag, because it's something that we're going to be launching soon, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we started our journey with just restorative culture, you know, back before COVID-19 landed, as a direct result of a really tragic case with a trust and a member of staff that very sadly committed suicide because of the way that they'd been treated as part of a disciplinary investigation. You know, within our trust, we've always had quite robust, strong discussions with staff side and that challenge around some of these processes. So, you know, but I think there's much more that we've still to do around this. So we know that allegations are made and there's a process that we have to go through. But just restorative is about making sure we only go through those processes when we absolutely need to, and when we do, all involved are treated with support, respect, you know, timeliness, and not taking any action where we don't need to. You know, if we know it's a system failure or anybody would have acted in that way, you know, actually, is that really the right mechanism for support, you know, to take somebody through a disciplinary process? No, we know how damaging they are and career limiting they are for individuals. So really making sure that any casework that goes through like that is only where absolutely essential and needs to, and that there's support for individuals through that process. So we started that journey before COVID-19 working with staff side colleagues, and actually there's been some outputs from COVID that have really helped this. You know, some of our digital ways of dealing with these mechanisms, actually staff have found more helpful and liberating and less intimidating. You know, we recognise that even with the best will, these are still formal processes that staff need to go to. But I think it's spreading and being much more broader and wider. You know, so there's still more that we need to do around the culture, around demystifying what just restorative means. It's not about holding people to account, but it's holding people to account in the right way, you know, and not holding people to account unnecessarily, but also thinking wider for our services. You know, everything we do should be about improving patient care and service user experience. So looking at our SIs, looking at our incidents, looking at our complaints and our approach to that. So it's a whole way of how we operate and how we treat our staff and our service users is respectful and based upon civility and mutual respect, and the values that, you know, we hold really deal, you know, in terms of being proud to care. So much more to do around this, but a much broader and wider culture piece for us all as an organisation. So there's less fear and anxiety around some of these processes.
So picking up on just restorative and systems and processes, the last one I wanted to touch on in terms of the people plan is our outstanding systems and processes, and this is really about the way that we build our systems and processes around our people and help them. I think, you know, we've improved over the years. You know, Steve touched on the rostering and, you know, some of the improvements that brings. But there's more that we can do, I'm sure, and I think we know, and we've got some plans to do more. But again, it'd be useful to get both the sorts of things that you'd like to see us do over the next 5 years in terms of improving our systems and processes from a people perspective.
I mean, the big one for us to work on is always going to be the sickness policy and building a more progressive sickness policy and how we deal with the advisory notices, warnings, or however we dress that up, it's still going to feel the same to the person that's going through that process. So I think in general all workplaces need to keep an eye on certainly that process, because it's very damaging. The work's going on, obviously, as Kerry's just said, through the disciplinary process. We've also got the performance management process in place that possibly needs looking at. I think policy and procedures is ongoing, and I think as we come across things, hopefully we learn. We might not get it right every time first time, but hopefully we learn from that and make changes to make that better. And I think it's about us as trade unions, because we're involved in that heavily, about being reasonable and finding something that actually works. We've got to understand that we're not going to get everything we want, and you've also got to understand as a trust that we're not going to let you get everything that you want if we think it's damaging to somebody. So I think we've built up a relationship over the years with the trust and staff organisations and Unison, and I think as long as we can keep that progressive and keep it working in a healthy, unafraid, ready to challenge way from either side, I think we've got the best way of making policy right as a whole.
No, I think great point. And I think Kerry and I and the team, we've had some conversations around. We agree. I think we need to make the sickness absence policy fit with the culture that we're looking for now. These things are never as easy as we want them to be, but we certainly want to move into that arena of it being not feeling as punitive as it does, and being more supportive, fitting in with the health and well-being. We don't want it to feel the way it is at the moment, and we've done that legally. These things that we've always wanted to put in the policy, but I think it's time to sort of move away a little bit from some of that legalism to get into something that feels more progressive, as I say, more compassionate, kinder.
Like I say, I think the things that people point out that feels punitive, it feels as though you're in trouble no matter, and you shouldn't feel as though you're in trouble if you've got a health issue. But the other aspect of it is that people say to us is it doesn't feel very personal.
No.
It doesn't meet my needs. It isn't personal to me. This isn't. It's a standard letter that comes out. So it feels less compassionate because. But I'm sure we will improve that as time goes on. Whether we'll actually get to the point of having a perfect one, I doubt, because other trains of thought and other ways of practice will come in the time we're developing. The policy that we end up with next, changes will be made. So I think it's just an ongoing piece of work, and it's about being ready to not say, well, we've done that policy and that's fixed now for 2 years. If something else comes on, being able to have that conversation of, yes, we've seen this now, is it time just to have a quick look at whether we can morph that policy again, not waiting for the 2 years almost as well.
Yeah, no, completely agree, Steve. I think we need to commit, over the next 12, 18 months that we will get that sorted. Kerry, have you from an systems, processes, policies type perspective?
I mean, I think from a policy perspective, we don't want any of our policies to be damaging, do we? That's absolutely counterproductive and not, not what we're about at all. There are processes legally, as you've touched on, but it's about how we inject that just restorative and that stability, and make sure that we're getting proactive as we can. So we're not actually getting into some of these formal processes, and it's as much informally driven and supportive and reflective as possible. But I think other things that we need to think about is, we've got some great benefits within the NHS, and actually have staff, are they fully aware of what those benefits and those opportunities are? The pension scheme, the total reward statement. So something about how we can support staff to better understand what that total reward, that reward offer looks like, I think is something for us. I think from a service provision perspective, from a people team provision perspective, is looking at, digitalisation, accessibility, so that staff can access their information, on their phones easily, speedily, and it's up to date and it's right, whether it's the pay slips, whether it's the roster, etc. etc., and looking at how we can inject that. And recruitment, again, you know, we're just piloting actually some iBots to take on some of the activity that, you know, humans don't need to do, and actually our recruitment team are better served elsewhere, and really trying to avoid errors and speed up that process for our services so that we're reducing the time it takes for us to recruit, and thinking where else we can scale and spread that across our other services as well. But I think it's just being much more interactive, having really accessible information so that staff know where they can get help, support from. You know, we've got a great learning and development offer there as well, and a leadership offer as well for our managers, you know, to support them to deal with what can be really challenging sets of circumstances at times, isn't it? We know, you know, our staff experience some really challenging incidents in their day-to-day work, and actually what are we doing from our systems and processes so that we are wrapping around and it is accessible and holistic and feels person-centred, and putting that human side into our processes really as much as possible.
That's fab, thank you. So just to finish off, just wanted to pick up on the Joy at Work model, the happy, healthy, productive people come through Joy at Work, and this Institute of Healthcare Improvement model for Joy at Work that we've included in the people plan. And a big shout out to Sue Wood for great conversation we had around this, that sort of I think made the difference in terms of including it, because I think it's really great. But just in terms of Joy at Work, I mean, I think we're all sort of into the principle of Joy at Work, and there's some great, you know, it fits in really well with what we're trying to do in the people plan. But I guess, you know, just to end on a slightly lighter note, but I mean, just give us a sense of what brings you joy at work, and what would you like to see that would bring you a bit of joy at work. Keep it brief and keep it clean, because we've got, you know, a clean audience out here.
I think the thing that brings me joy at work is the team that I work with, the localised team, and I work with. I have to separate it out because I'm ward based. One shift a week, so I still work in the workforce on the shop floor. A lot of trade unionists don't, and you know, but I think that's quite important personally for me, because I didn't become a trade union officer to get out of working as a healthcare support worker at Somers View. I really didn't do that, so I like to keep that aspect of my job. So I think it's the team and the people that are in it, and how they're managed. Really,
it makes a massive difference in people around you, doesn't it, Kerry?
Yeah, I mean, I'd echo those views, and making a difference, a positive difference. You know, the services that I lead, you know, we very rarely get to speak to service users, but actually we're still strongly committed as a leadership team that everything we should be doing should be about improving that service experience for our service users by staff being the best versions of themselves. And, you know, I've had some very interesting debates with leaders over the past who, you know, may not have always got how important this is, and the research and evidence that behind that when people are in these joy at work cultures and have got that psychological safety, you know, the care that we give is so much better, their experience is better, the care we give is better, and it unlocks a whole discretionary effort, you know, that we don't always see and we don't always feel.
I think COVID's done something to that bit.
Yeah.
I don't think, what I think COVID's done is enabled some managers to realise they don't need complete control at every moment of time, because it's been distance working, and they haven't been able to have that control, and they've found a way that was probably more balanced and more sensible, and makes the team happier by having that discovery. So I know we shouldn't try and find a positive out of COVID, because there isn't really a positive in COVID, but if the one thing work-wise, I think that has changed some managers' outlook that couldn't see another way of managing everything, but having complete hands-on all the time. Trust, really, and when you put trust in people, you get dividends back.
Yeah, and certainly from my perspective, you know, the joy at work bit, I think it's multiple factors, isn't it? But the people, it is about the people, and it's about making a difference, isn't it? And feeling like you can make a difference. And I suppose, you know, one of the things that's going to, I'm anticipating, bring some joy at work, certainly to me and other colleagues. We're going to be announcing, in fact, Donna Cantrell is going to be announcing very shortly, which I won't spoil the surprise, but keep your eyes out for that, because that's going to be, very interesting, and hopefully bring a lot of joy and fun to work as well. But I don't want to spoil the surprise. Okay, thank you both. That's been incredibly great start to People with Paul. Thank you for watching. We are going to be doing this on a regular basis. We'll be having different guests and different topics. We also want to come out to you and to see what it's like. You bring your topics. We'll come out and we'll do a little video, or we'll highlight some of the things that you want us to highlight, and we want some fun things as well. So if any of you are up for singing in the ward and sharing your songs, or you want to tell jokes, whatever, the budding thespians out there, you get in touch and we'll include you in some of these as well. So thank you for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it, and keep your ideas coming in for us so that we can improve it as we go forward. Thank you.
Diversity and inclusion is something which we take extremely seriously. Patient and service user stories are just one way in which we get to hear the voice of those we serve. Here's our Executive Director of Nursing, Kenny Lang, to introduce our next item.
Many thanks, Claire. Hearing the experiences of our staff and service users, carers and their families, delivered by them in their own words, provides insights and knowledge in a way that goes beyond the mere printed word. We use stories at our trust board, our committees, internal and engagement events. We also use them extensively across the web, digital and social media platforms. And that includes, of course, here on CTV. If you have ideas of a staff, a service user and/or carer story, we need to hear it. Please get in touch with our patient experience facilitator or the comms team. In the meantime, I hope you enjoy the next item.
The team has worked incredibly hard. There's been a lot of challenges over the last few years, not least COVID, but we've also been playing our part in broader transformation as Staffordshire moves to ICB.
Yeah, I was referred by the GP after having CBT and counselling because I was really struggling with suicidal thoughts and a few other mental health problems after losing my sister. They allocated me a care co, and she's been with me ever since. She's not only helped me, but she's helped my family members as well. I've been on the safety and stabilisation course, which deals with things like past traumas and how to deal with them. I'm now on the coping skills, which teaches you how to cope better in situations, things like distress tolerance. So that's all helping me, and I'm a completely different person than I was just nearly 12 months ago.
Well, for the last 2.5 years, I think it is now that I've been in the Ashcombe Centre. Honestly, I can say that it's been life-changing. Without the support that I've gotten from the Ashcombe Centre, I don't think I'd be where I am today. To be honest, I don't think I'd be here. Because they took me at my lowest point, and you've just helped me build my confidence and helped me really push through the issues, the mental health issues that I've had. And I think that working with the Ashcombe Centre has really made me be in a better place mentally, and I don't know how to thank you guys, because honestly, I feel very privileged and grateful that I got to work with such amazing people.
Been with yourselves just under, been 11 months into coming up for probably, give or take a bit. Yeah, it's been different, I suppose. It's had a lot of help from Becky Barlow and James and Maxime. Maxime's helped me whilst doing the A&D pathway. Helped me quite a lot. Been quite responsive as well. If we needed anything on the phone straight away. Been in a couple of crises last year. Again, quick to respond to. So yes, considering secondary care, yeah, it has been a good experience.
Our Spotlight section is our chance to shine a light on individuals, teams and their achievements and developments. We're really proud of our people at Combined and the amazing things they do, day in and day out. Here's our Medical Director, Dr. Dennis Okolo, to introduce our next item.
Many thanks, Claire. As Claire said, at Combined Healthcare, we want to shine a spotlight on the excellent and compassionate care we provide. I hope you enjoy this next item, which gives you just one further example of just how and why we are proud to be outstanding in all we do and how we do it.
The Darwin Centre is Combined's regional 15-bedded inpatient unit, providing specialist mental health services for young people and their families. This week, the Darwin Centre gained a new colleague, a 16-week-old Springer Spaniel puppy called Kiara, who has been introduced to the centre by her owner and CAMS psychiatry consultant, Mike Foster. Kiara is the centre's new emotional support dog, and it was her first day on Thursday. The centre now has 2 support dogs, including another of Mike's dogs called Rupert, who has been a reliable presence at the centre, but he has sadly been diagnosed with kidney failure. Kiara will bring some younger energy, and it definitely looked like she was settling in already when we went to visit her and Mike. Kiara's role will be to facilitate conversation between Mike and service users on the ward, giving them a boost of self-esteem and oxytocin when playing with the puppy. Mike spoke of the research behind having an emotional support dog and the benefits it has revealed. Based on the evidence in research, as well as the service evaluation with our other emotional support dog, Rupert, we know that having a dog at the Darwin Centre can be deeply beneficial for both the staff and service users. By the time we visited in the late morning, Kiara had already met one service user at the centre who had a very positive interaction with the friendly puppy, and Mike explained how the dog would be based in the office initially, getting used to the centre and then move on to the ward in the coming weeks as she adjusts. Kiara has clearly been a welcome addition to the centre. Catherine Smith is the ward manager who seemed delighted with her newest team member. We've noticed that having an emotional support dog on the ward enhances engagement from the service users. Kiara brings warmth to the unit and puts a smile on the faces of everybody here. We look forward to following Kiara as she grows up and seeing how she provides a calming, affectionate atmosphere to our service users at the Darwin Centre.
proud of the leading role we play in our local integrated care system Together We're Better. By working together in partnership with colleagues in the wider NHS, the care system, local government and the third sector, we achieve far more together than we can achieve alone. Here's just some examples of what's going on around our local system this week.
So I did my mental health nurse training in 1990 and I trained until 1993. So in 1993 I became a staff nurse in mental health. So officially it's 30 years, but I did go out of the NHS briefly and then come back in. So I've got 25 years continuous service, but 30 in sort of total. I was always keen to be a nurse, and I didn't really know a lot about mental health nursing. So when I was at school, I went on a shadowing day where I shadowed a nurse on a urology ward, so completely different to mental health. Did that and got a taste for it and thought, yes, this is what I want to do. So I went to college and sort of studied sort of pre-nursing, and then when I applied to be a nurse, I actually applied to be a general nurse, like an acute adult nurse. Started doing that, and went on a mental health ward as part of the sort of generic training, and absolutely fell in love with it and thought, I don't want to do general nursing anymore, I want to do mental health. So I was lucky enough that the ward manager of the ward that I went on to in 1991 said to me, yeah, we want you to join mental health, and he facilitated me to be swapped over. So I swapped over, so I was quite lucky in a way that I was able to end the general nursing training and join mental health. So that was what sort of pulled me into, you know, mental health nursing as opposed to general. A vivid memory that sticks in my mind is when I very first qualified in 1993, and I went to work in a ward in Manchester. So it was a mental health ward, it was a 32-bedded ward. And back in the day then, you didn't have preceptorship nurses. So I walked onto the ward, was given a set of keys and told, there you go, you're in charge of 32 patients. And I said, oh, right, okay, who am I on with? And they said, oh, you're supposed to be on with the ward manager, but he's off sick with a bad back. So I was like, oh, right. So I was brand newly qualified with a set of keys, didn't know what I was doing. And it was a disaster. It was like the shift from hell. I made a drug error. A patient ran off the ward. It was like really like everything went wrong that could have gone wrong, but I learned very quickly. It made me sort of like, you know, learn quickly how to take charge of a ward. So yeah, that was my earliest memory because it was quite a scary shift. Yeah, so my first role was a staff nurse on the same acute ward in Manchester. And I did go out of the NHS shortly after that post and tried working in a rehabilitation home in the community, closer to home. Enjoyed it, but then got back into the NHS and carried on in acute mental health, so inpatient wards. And then I worked my way up to ward manager, and I managed one of the first psychiatric intensive care units when they first came about in 1996. And then I sort of continued into sort of management, service manager, inpatient manager, community manager, and then general manager. I stayed in management for quite a long time. And then in 2010, there was an opportunity to go back to university, do a master's degree. So I took on that and went to Manchester, and I did an advanced master's in mental health. And then as a result of getting that master's, I went into a consultant nurse post in a different organisation, and I did that for 5 years. And then I came over to Combined Trust in 2016, back in a management post. So I've sort of dipped in between management and clinical posts. So I came over here as the head of directorate for the inpatient directorate. So that was the acute wards and some of the rehabilitation units. And then that post got redesigned into an associate director post. So I was the associate director for a short period of time in the acute and urgent care directorate. And then again, a post came up as a consultant nurse, and I missed it. I missed working with patients. So I then became the consultant nurse in acute, based at Harplands Hospital. And that's where I am now, primarily based on the psychiatric intensive care unit, but I also work across the acute ward as a consultant nurse. So the changes that I've experienced in the NHS from when I started in the 90s, early 90s, one of the biggest ones is that people smoked everywhere. So there was no smoke-free policies. Patients would smoke on the wards, staff would smoke on the wards, and it was quite common practice for people to sit in a multidisciplinary team meeting with patients and staff and smoke. Obviously, research has shown that needed to change, so that's been a massive change. And then obviously we used to write in notes, everything was on paper. So I'm a prescriber, so we used to prescribe always on paper. Now we prescribe electronically, so everything's gone electronically. And we've developed lots of new teams as well in the community, so we've improved mental health for patients, so there's been lots of positive changes. So yeah, in my sort of 25, 30 years, a lot has changed really in terms of how we work with patients for the better. I think what I enjoy about working in the NHS is seeing patients improve and seeing that we provide a service for people to make them, you know, get better and move on. And I think there's nothing more rewarding than seeing somebody come into hospital, coming into the NHS, struggling with some areas or many areas of their life, and then going out in a different position. And I think the good thing about working in the NHS is it's a big team, it's a very supportive team. It is like working in a family. You know, you work with lots of people very closely, and I think, you know, you take a lot from that as well. So you give into it, but you also can take things away from it. And for me, you know, I've done lots of training through working in the NHS. I've been able to go and do my degree and my master's degree and prescribing. So there's lots of opportunities for me as well to improve my skills and knowledge that then improve patients.
At Combined, we celebrate our people and team's fantastic track record in securing achievements, awards and accolades. Here's our chair, David Rogers, to introduce our next item.
Many thanks, Claire. As Claire said, at Combined Healthcare, we're always keen to celebrate the fantastic things that our people and teams do. Whether that's delivering brilliant, compassionate care, developing innovations and new services, or securing external or national recognition. One of my most pleasurable experiences each year is hosting our annual Reach Awards, our showcase event. But we don't just want to celebrate achievement once a year. We want to do it continually. And CTV is one way in which we're able to do so. I hope you enjoy this next item, which gives you just one further example of just how and why we are proud to be outstanding in all we do and how we do it.
Sorry, Doris, just take your glasses off. Yeah. Pop them over there.
Have a look at your eyes, Doris, with the torch. Okay?
It does make you realise though when we take people's glasses off and hearing aids that what we actually do to them. I know it's, do you know what I mean? It's like everything went, it was already a bit blurred and then it went completely blurred and then you just see all these voices. So yeah, it is good. It does make you think.
After coming out of that wheel, because it's all consuming, so you're looking around and you're literally in the room as with the environment around you. It was very well put together, really good.
And what did you think about what you saw? Did you feel like you were experiencing it from the point of view of the patient?
Yeah, you did. I think it was really helpful to see the changeable presentations, and that 1 minute sort of everything was clear, then the next minute it was all very fuzzy and there was sirens going off and there was smoke coming out the vents, and again, seeing how the patient would have interpreted what the staff were doing as well.
Surreal. Yeah, it's very strange really. It's it really is. But I mean, they're quite beneficial. I think to actually give that insight into what the patients are actually experiencing, I suppose, is very interesting for us, because obviously we see it on a regular basis here, but we don't really know what it's like for that patient to actually to suffer from delirium.
Yeah.
So really. Very powerful, I would say. It's all the colours and all the things and whatnot with the hallucinations, and the VR really does capture that quite well. So.
Oh God, it's me they're talking about. It's going to be me next.
It's completely immersive to be able to sit there and have a patient's view of what it feels like when we go up to patients. We remove their senses, so we take away their hearing, we take away their sight. Obviously on ITU we give them all the drugs that can increase delirium, to be able to get the patient's perspective, to feel so small and not be able to do anything about those things and get my senses back to how they should be. It feels really disempowering, so you can't do anything to help yourself at all. I think that's a really good tool to teach delirium, because I'll certainly go back into my practice and think about what I'm doing to patients, maybe take the extra few seconds to explain what I'm going to do and why I'm going to do it as well, which I think is important. It's not just about what's going on, it's why you're doing those things, to help try and rationalise in that patient's mind that isn't thinking rationally what is going on and where they are and what they're doing.
Oh my God, she looks terrified.
when she hadn't got her glasses on, you could see things. I thought there was food on the table, but it wasn't food, it was actually just a blanket. So you can now understand why people are reaching for things, and you know how they try and eat and drink out of things that you just think, I thought there were bananas on the table, it wasn't, it was a blanket. Yes, it's actually quite scary. And then at one point they wheeled a patient in, but it looked like a dead body because it was covered, which would be absolutely petrifying. And nobody explained why they were wheeling people in and out. So yeah, really quite scary.
I think when I saw two people with the virtual reality on, what struck me is that normally someone experiences delirium, you don't see, it's invisible. But by having the virtual reality on, it's like that barrier between you and them, and you realise how just isolated that person is, because they've got this almost this barrier of the delirium surrounding them. And it was just seeing that how vulnerable they are and how isolated this just makes them. And even if people approach them, they're still disconnected. The delirium's causing that layer of disconnect, really. That's what I observed. I've nursed plenty of people with delirium, so I think I'm aware of the process and the effect. But I've never just seen that moment of vulnerability, that moment of disconnect quite so clearly as just seeing it there, really.
So listen, I'm here with Dr. Becky Chubb from Combined Healthcare, who's the consultant psychiatrist for older people. Yep, and the VR training film that we've done was, in actual fact, Becky's idea, completely Becky's idea. And hearing some of the reflections over the morning of people of how they've experienced it and what it's brought to them, the impact, you must be absolutely delighted.
I am. I'm so pleased that the idea was to really put the person in the patient's shoes, so that you really get to experience what it might be like to have an episode of delirium. And I think the other thing that I've learned from you guys is that actually it's really helpful as well to just see somebody else using the VR tool rather than just only experiencing yourself, which was something is an added benefit I didn't realise.
And what have you learned from seeing that?
I think just it's another way of using it, isn't it? That you don't have to have the VR headset on, because it might not be for everybody. Not everybody feels comfortable putting the VR headset on, but actually there's still loads to be learned, even if you're in the room and you're learning with somebody else, which is fabulous.